Gardening is a good way to save money by growing your own vegetables, and you don't have to have a huge financial investment to get started in gardening. With just a few basic tools and some equipment, you can be growing your own vegetables in no time. If you don't have room for a garden bed, or maybe you live in an apartment or something, you can grow some vegetables in a container. And you don't have to buy something really expensive. This is just a recycled plastic pot. Decorated it a little bit. You could use some paints, or you could, this is contact paper, but as long as it has some drainage holes and it's a good size container, you can grow anything from lettuce, spinach, radishes, onions, beets, some herbs, all kinds of things. If you had a larger container, you could do some peppers, tomatoes, maybe even a small squash. One of the things that you'll want to remember when you garden in a container is that you need to use commercial potting soil. Our regular garden soil is too heavy and doesn't have enough airspace in it. So always go ahead and purchase some commercial potting soil when you garden in a container. Garden seeds are very inexpensive. You can pick those up anywhere from sometimes 3 packages for $1 up to $1.50. And a lot of Kansas vegetables can be grown from seed quite easily. Things like lettuce, okra, squash, spinach, radish, of course things like cantaloupes, melons, cucumbers, all grow very well from seed. A few other things that you might want to have if you're going to garden in a container would be just a few hand tools. A trowel is really nice to have, not only if you're planting seeds, but if you're planting a transplant like a tomato or a pepper. If you're doing several containers, you might want to just have some little basic small hoes and rakes. Labels, so that you can label your container, and that can be anywhere from a plastic stick to a wooden craft stick. And then of course in Kansas, we're going to need to water. And so just a watering can. Can be any kind. Pick them up at any of your local stores. You might even be able to pick it up at a garage sale, or even if you don't have a watering can, an empty milk jug, so that you can take water out to your plants. So those are just some of the basic things that you would need to have if you wanted to garden in a container. If you're gardening in a small garden area, you'll need some larger tools. So let's look at a few of the basic garden tools. Shovels for digging, turning soil, working in your compost bin, always great to have. A hoe, you can pick these up in any community. There's a lot of different types available. A hard-tooth rake is great for soil preparation. That's something you might want to purchase down the line. And a leaf rake is something that's also needed toward the end of the season to kind of clean up the garden bed. Probably the 2 key pieces here would be the shovel and the rake. And as we mentioned, in Kansas, you're always going to need to supply some extra water. During long periods of hot, dry weather, need a garden hose so that you can keep that garden watered. There's a lot of varieties of different types of tools. Shop around, see which ones are most comfortable in your hand. If you can't afford to buy some tools right now, you might check with a neighbor or friend that you could borrow, or sometimes a community garden will have tools that they're willing to share. The other thing to remember is if you are buying transplants, you don't need to buy the biggest transplant that the nursery has to offer. Try finding plants in the 6-packs or the 4-packs. They're going to be a lot more economical than when you buy a plant in a 4-inch pot or something larger. You're going to get the same number of plants. You may get 6 plants instead of 1 plant for the same price. And when you consider it doesn't take very long for those tomato plants to get to be the same size as the one was in the 4-inch pot. So always look for the ones in the smaller container. That's going to help you save money in your garden. With a small investment in some seeds, maybe a few transplants, some basic garden equipment that you're going to have for several years, you're going to be able to produce a bounty of produce that your family's going to be able to enjoy all summer.
For more information, visit your local extension office or visit our website at kansasgreenyards.org.